What up, Cavs Nation? I'm your host, Ethan Sands, and I'm back with another episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. And joining me today, the best columnist in the land, in my opinion, Jimmy Watkins, cleveland.com's best, and he's coming to us after a loaded Browns week. Jimmy, thank you for making the time to join us. It's very much appreciated for having you on. And I wanted to go into something fun today. It's jersey time in the land, where we have a couple of different leaked jerseys that are going to be coming or allegedly coming in 2025, 2026. And let's start with one of the more exciting ones, right? The opportunity for 5 NBA teams to receive a classic jersey for the 2025-2026 season. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are included in this list, along with the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Philadelphia 76ers. These jerseys overall look crazy. But Jimmy, when this being a throwback kind of jersey, and I know a lot of Cavs fans have been waiting, hoping, wanting this jersey to come back, the LeBron James era jerseys. What do you think about these? I'll probably have to throw up a picture. Obviously, I'm going to have to give credit to Isaac Okoro Fan Club on Twitter, because he's the one that made these into graphics, putting Darius and Donovan on them. I know I sent them over to you. Let me know what these jerseys, what you think about them on this new era team.
I like the idea of bringing back jerseys that fans like. And it's interesting because, like, I always wonder, do fans like these old jerseys because the jerseys are cool? Or do they like them because it was a prosperous time for the franchise? I think sometimes we can get the two confounded. But I think generally I'm much more in favor of bringing back what worked before than trying to make something new work. I just feel like jerseys, we all want to evolve all the time, right? Generally, as people, as a society. But with sports logos and uniforms, uniform colors in particular, these are things, and maybe I'm 29 going on 50 with this take. I think these are things that should be steeped in tradition, that should remind of good times like the 07-ish Cavs, that should at the very least fit something of an idea that has been with the franchise before. I just feel like every year, and we'll get into this is going to bleed into my jersey rankings. I just feel like every year we try to reinvent the wheel with new jerseys or new logos, or what I actually think the Cavs are an outlier here because they did an awesome job with their City Edition court jersey combo this year. But in most cases, we're grasping at irrelevant straws when we try to invent a new jersey every single year. And I get, in some regard, we couldn't have these cool throwbacks from 07 if the Cavs didn't try them in the first place. Like, uniforms have evolved over time. Fashion has evolved over time. But there's a healthy medium here where you can try new things while sticking to old principles. And I guess that's my way of prepping people. That's my rubric. That's my rubric for good jersey stuff. Some of it's just, is it cool? Does it catch your eye? But I'm mostly can we color within the lines type of uniform guy.
So, Jimmy, this isn't the only jersey combination that got leaked either. And you mentioned the City Edition jerseys from this last year, which I think were one of the Cavs' best all time. I think you cannot go wrong with that glacier blue colorway, that UNC blue, if you want to go that way either. But now they're kind of going the opposite direction. Instead of cool, they're going a little bit odder. This next City Edition jersey that got leaked by Pro Line Mockups on X, formerly Twitter, has them wearing a failed creamsicle style jersey. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's more like a sunset, sunshine, whatever you want to orange. I think I'm disappointed. Let me put it this way. I'm disappointed in these jerseys, and I can see how it would get used in the context of like the full court and all these things. But the reality of the situation is, one, it could just blend into the court depending on how the Cavs end up utilizing it. And to be very fair, the Cleveland Cavaliers organization has been great with connecting the art of the city, the art of the museums to their city edition jerseys and utilizing that on the court and all those different things. So I don't think they'll fail in that regard. But these jerseys as a whole, like, you have to look at them probably 3, 4 times, then try and see if anybody has put out graphics of them on players. Maybe they're not even edited the correct way, and be like, hey, it's growing on me. Jerseys shouldn't grow on you. It's supposed to like stick with you and be the exact idea of what you wanted. And for these, I think the Cavs fell short. I'm looking at all these other jerseys that are coming out for the league next year for their city editions, because Pro Line mock-ups actually dropped the entire 30 teams. I think there's a couple of misses in here. I think there's a couple of good ones as well. Jimmy, what do you think about this creamsicle version or sunset type version of a Cavs uniform?
They look like frat boy shorts on a jersey. This is salmon pink on a jersey. This is why they make different color jerseys, because they could sell more. It's money grab to some extent, and these would go crazy on Frat Row at your local university, on your local college campus. But they look bad to me. There's no tie-in. Cavs have never been a creamsicle type franchise. This doesn't. It just feels like it feels like an overextension of the imagination. I don't support the Vineyard Vines sponsored jerseys here.
I think that's a great indication of what you were going into earlier, Jimmy. The fact that like the old school classic jersey that we talked about that is being brought back is like, that's what the classic version is. And that's what the Cavs should be known for. It's the colorways, the wine and gold, all those different things that you get to look into. And then now you're kind of getting a recolor of the 2022-2023 City Edition jersey, which you don't really want to mix and match. And as you said, and you're right, it's a money grab more than anything. But is it really a money grab if people are all across the internet are not raving about these jerseys? Like, I sent you a thread of the jerseys for the next season when it comes to all of these city edition jerseys. And I'm looking at it, and there's only a few that I really like can rock with. Sure, the Minnesota Timberwolves purple, I like that one. The Detroit one, I think the colorways on the side is really good. And then I think when they go with these black colorways and then they have the colors on the fringes, I think that goes well. And you can use that in multiple different ways for an arena. But it's just so hard to see the Cavs pulling this off and making it into something that people are going to grab onto, especially with all the criticism that these original jerseys have gotten.
2022-23 was 3 years ago. Do we really need to be remixing those already? No, no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
I think that's a good point. So I want to get into this next question for you, which is, what is the best Cavs jersey of all time to you, based on what you've been around, what you've seen, and it'll get into a little game that I have set up for us later.
To me, it's the Mark Price era, orange and blue Cavs jerseys. I love the way those colors mesh. I love the old school Cavs logo. And I think part of the reason that the City Edition jerseys from 2024-25 work so well is it sort of built off of that old vibe with a new spin on it, right? Like I don't like that we reimagine courts with jerseys, but if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it well. And the Cavs, again, reached back into the past. Say, here's a thing that we did well before they made the blue a dominant color for these jerseys, and then they picked a visually appealing blue and blew it out in the entire arena, and it worked perfectly. It's a great spin on an old idea. I'm not dismissing new ideas in just off rip, right? I'm not dismissing new ideas off rip. I just think that it's an easy blink test to know when something is done redone right, that's a big time yes for me. But I love the aesthetics on the Mark Price, Craig Elo era jerseys. Those are my personal favorites.
For me, I don't know what it is, Jimmy. I think I'm a little bit of a fan of the white, orange, and blues from 1994 to 1997. And then the worst of all time, I feel like it is when they won the championship in them sleeve black jerseys with LeBron in 2016. But the road wine and gold from 2003 to 2010, I think those are like my top two. And then obviously we talked about it, the ones that they're bringing back as classic jerseys, the alternate navy blues from 2003 to 2010. Those are going to be the classic jerseys for this coming season. Allegedly, that's like a very close three for me. So I think those would have to be my top three of all time for Cavs uniforms. Jimmy, it's time to get into the all times of all time jerseys. We've had conversations about the Cavs, and I think we have to be real. There are different styles that are classic. There are different styles that have imagery. You think of all of these different jerseys that are all timers. I got a top five list. I want to hear your top five, and we can go back and forth because I got mine listed off from top to bottom. Do you have yours in order, or are you rocking with you just have them scattered?
I think I have an order. Yeah.
All right. So my number one for jerseys all time, the Orlando Magic Road Black with the white pinstripes. I think that is so clean, so cold. Maybe I'm a little bit biased growing up on pinstripes, but I like that look. What's your number one?
The best ever. It's the Lakers gold. It's classic. It's the defining jersey of the NBA. It's Lakers and Celtics. Those are my top two, by the way. Those are the defining jerseys of the NBA. It's something that you can point to. You could see one of those from 100 yards away and know exactly what it is. To me, that's the goal here. That's the goal here, is to have something that you can closely associate with your brand, that is identifiable, that is easy on the eyes. You don't have to overthink these things. I think it again, we run into this issue of, is it classic because it's classic, or these are just the two best teams? I think context matters with the jerseys, though. These jerseys have fit on big stages. These jerseys, they go well against seeing the matchup against each other. It works in that way. I just think that those, and the fact that they have both endured as long as they have, I think that speaks. I mean, obviously that both teams have done some updating on those jerseys, with the updating the way that they deploy those colors, the design of the fit of the jersey. But they those two teams have done well to stick to their guns and let tradition carry on. And by the way, we need to stop. As over the weekend, I saw Red Sox Yankees. I was cruising on television, Red Sox Yankees series, that's basically Lakers Celtics of baseball, and they were wearing. I thought this was a minor league baseball game. I couldn't tell which team was which. The Red Sox were wearing green jerseys and I think yellow jerseys at one. It's just like, when we get iconic matchups, can we get the iconic look to it? Can we, because the point of this stuff is that it travels over time. To me, the greatest looks travel across, span different generations, but we have to let them do that, particularly when they are matched up against their proper rival. Let's try to. Can we? Adam Silver, Rob Manfred, Roger Goodell. Let's stick to that.
Basically, like, you're saying these jerseys stood the test of time. Like, that's the most important thing for you, at least when it comes to these jerseys. And I think that's fair. So Jimmy gave us his number two as well, which is the Celtics green. I'm going to go my number two as the Philadelphia 76ers 2000s Dazzle jersey, the Allen Iverson version of that jersey. You think of the iconic jerseys of players wearing those, and I mean, for the culture, Allen Iverson is that dude. You obviously have the accessories that come along with it, but that jersey stands alone by itself. That number three jersey will be one of the most famous jerseys for the entirety of the NBA, just because of his impact, and that makes it as valuable, as powerful for me when you think about what he was able to accomplish, but what that jersey just means to the NBA as well. So I think that has to be my number two of all time.
I just went with Allen Iverson. Those are good jerseys. But like, I feel like we could have put a reasonably ugly jersey on Allen Iverson and he would have made it cool. That guy just had so much aura, swag, whatever you want to say to him. He carried so much cultural weight that the Sixers the Sixers would have had to trot out something pretty hideous for Allen Iverson to not make it work. But obviously, yeah, they him as a Allen Iverson both as a basketball and a fashion icon in the culture. That totally works for me. I like the we're going to three now. I like the Raptors dinosaur, and this kind of goes against a little like 'cause this was an expansion team that they named in a public naming contest when the Raptors came into the league into the '90s. But you look at where they started. I like a team that where I can with a good mesh of mascot on their jersey, and that jersey, the purple and red work together so well. And you look at some of the Raptors jerseys now, we've come too far. We started so strong, and now I just feel like their brand has been milk toasted to such, I mean, like the most identifiable Raptors jersey in 2025 are probably like the OVO Drakes, like or like I like the Kawhi era white with a red stripe across it. Again, is that because it's a good jersey, or is it because they won the title? I don't know. But the Raptors jerseys from the Vince Carter days, those pop no matter where you see them. I would love to see more of those.
Ironically enough, Jimmy, I also have the Raptors original Dino as my number three overall selection of all time. It just makes sense, right? And we're talking about, again, like famous figures. Like you just picture Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, guys that have stature that made the jersey what it was. Sure, as Jimmy made a great point, it's the person in the jersey, but the jersey can stand by itself as well. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to this conversation. It's a lot of fun to go through all of these different images and looking at who was wearing these jerseys, who was there, who was most important. But like as Jimmy was mentioning, now we're going to like celebrities have an impact on the jerseys, even though they don't have ownership of the team. You can be a Drake fan. Why is Drake even on? Why would he have anything to do with the Toronto Raptors? Like, and that's the other thing. Spike Lee has never tried to do anything with the New York Knicks other than show up to the games and be there and piss off the players that they're playing against. Sure, it can be annoying, but like he's not trying to put his stamp on the city of New York other than just by putting his stamp on the city of New York, right? It feels at this point forced, and like the culture is supposed to be what the city is, not the people that are in it. Even though and that kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm saying. The jersey is the jersey, but the person in the jersey can elevate it if that's what we're thinking. Okay, now on to number four, Jimmy. On to number four.
I have the Seattle Supersonics. I mean, just their entire catalog. What the Seattle Supersonics could have done as we sort of ushered in the era of different jersey color combos. They basically could have been the Oregon Ducks of the NBA, right? They have these two bright green, bright yellow highlighter. They can go so many different directions with the mixes of those colors and the kind of courts that I mean the classic looks with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, I mean, or even later stages like the random Rashard Lewis Sonics that were fantastic in the mid 2000s, the early KD looks, they all look great. We need the Sonics back in the NBA for a lot of different reasons, but I do think like what the Oregon Ducks have done with college football, where they have, I mean, infinite different color combinations with their jerseys, and that's become a part of their recruiting selling point. And people are Oregon Ducks fans because they just like the way stuff looks, and it's cool. You just brand yourself as cool by mixing the colors the right way. I think the Sonics had and still have. That could be that should be if I'm part of like Seattle Sonics expansion ground team, that's part of my plan to reassert my brand into the basketball ether is, let me show you what I can do with these really cool color combinations that should clash. It looks like, but they don't. I just think they work. I think they work.
Let me step into what you're talking about in the expansion team by stepping away from the jersey conversation for a second. Jimmy, I think that's a great point, and I think we could take this a step further. I think every NBA team should have a WNBA team. I think there should be more expansion when it comes to the WNBA and the support of from the NBA to the WNBA. This goes hand in hand with the conversation we're having with the NBA Finals. Small market teams having other teams, OKC, obviously the former being Seattle Supersonics, like them having a WNBA team in the Seattle Storm. You see players there at games. The Indiana Pacers, Caitlin Clark, before game 4, I believe it was, the Indiana Pacers were 8-0 when she showed up to games, right? Tyrese Halliburton makes a concerted effort to go watch Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and all those things. And I'm not necessarily saying it has to be in the same city, but like if they're within an hour of each other, I feel like that would make the most sense. Washington Wizards and the Washington Mystics, like these teams can feed off of each other. And if you want more people to show up to these games, you want more people, more traction, more all of these things, more selling points, have the support groups are right there, right? Like basketball players, although there have been conversations throughout the NBA and with players that there are some players that don't love the game the same as they used to, but you have the Kevin Durant's, you have the Tyrese Halliburton's, you have these guys that are willing and able and so deeply in love with the game of basketball that they will show up to any game possible. Donovan Mitchell shows up to high school games all the time, right? He's a guy that loves the game. He's a guy that wants to give back to the game. But I think when we talk about expansion, when we talk about these jerseys, when we talk about these teams, the expectation is that, oh, the WNBA doesn't have a whole lot of support, so they're not going to get the same revenue, the same profit, all these other things. Sure, that can be true. But if we talk about expansion, we talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, the city of Cleveland trying to gain a WNBA team, the Cleveland Rockers, right? Trying to get those girls back over here. I think that's a good thing for the city. You got the Guardians, you got the Browns, you got the Rockers, and you got the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think that's a good city feeling vibe. I think when you talk about just wanting, especially in this climate, bringing up and raising up every situation around you, I think the WNBA is one of those atmospheres that has what it takes to be another entity. Obviously, as some of these players have mentioned, it's in its infancy still. Obviously, we talk about sports in general. The National Softball League just started, so it's in its infancy still. But if you have these teams around it, you have this organization, this league that is capable of supporting, that's the easiest way to help one another, right? Because these women are also becoming stars. Anyway, I digress from my rant, my tangent. Jimmy, do you have anything you want to add before we get back into jerseys?
I'm distracted and annoyed by my neighbor who has decided to vacuum during the podcast. But no, I think your point about the WNBA is well said. And I by the way, I would say that the NBA players are among the biggest supporters, certainly the biggest supporters with the biggest platforms. The WNBA, they do a great job. All people you mentioned, I would throw Chris Paul on that list. Obviously, Kobe before he passed was a big advocate for the WNBA. I think they're doing their part in helping spread that game.
Back to jerseys. So for my number 4 spot, I had the Vancouver Grizzlies. We talked about a jersey that has seen and stood the test of time. This is a jersey that's been around for a good minute. Now you have guys like John Morant wearing it and elevating it to a different level and a different standard, right? I just think there's so many different ways to wear this jersey. There's so many different styles. And you go to anywhere and you see this jersey pop up. It's because it's so iconic. And the Vancouver Grizzlies, where you see the different lettering, the different piping, the different styling. Sure, maybe I'm getting away a little bit from Jimmy's classic jerseys that have like been the symbol of a city, the symbol of a team. But I think this jersey itself has meant a lot to that organization. And it's been one of the coolest jerseys. And it's not necessarily your UNC blue, it's not necessarily your glacier blue, but it's a good color, a little cyan that gets you going in a different kind of way. But we've made it to our number 5 picks of all time for jerseys. Jimmy, let me know what it is.
I have the Cavs old school jerseys here at number 5. The Cavs orange and blues from back in the day. Because again, I think seeing the City Edition jerseys this year, like kind of that aesthetic, how good it looked out there on the players and on the court. Like I wasn't around for the old school looks, but it had me like seriously on City Edition night. I'd be going back and combing through and looking at the old school. I was like, man, these just work. And that kind of, I think that circles us back to the point I made at the top, which is like, we don't need to try to reinvent the wheel here with with these new City Edition jerseys or alternate uniform. We have a different. Every team has a different alternate uniform. It seems like every year. I don't mind like the idea of like we're throwing like different city nicknames. Like I don't hate the land. I don't like I don't mind Cleveland using the land as a tool in its branding. Or the Suns did a really good job with the Valley. With they use that for their in-season tournament court. They use that for some of their alternate jerseys. I think it's in here for I was combing through that tweet you sent me about the leaks for next year's City Edition. I think it's in there for their City Edition. I don't mind that stuff, but I think the best new look jerseys pay homage to some of the older ones. Like again, connecting a through line between your old brand and your new one, and maybe putting a new spin on it, like a little extra. I think the Cavs did a great job. Like the intro video with the new City Editions this year, where like the players were art at the art museum as part of their partnership with the art museum, and then they come like that intro. That was so good. It all connected. You could see the vision for all of it. Whereas like with these pink guys, where did that come from? Like where's the through line? What sort of like city centric story are we telling there? I As we learn more about these jerseys, I'm open to that being a part of it. I'm open to learning new things, but right now it doesn't jump out to me. And I don't think you're like, it's like a Halloween costume, right? My rule for a Halloween costume is like, if I have to explain it to you for longer than 10 seconds, I didn't do my job putting together a Halloween costume. And I think jerseys are particularly like a City Edition jersey, which is like, supposed to be like hand in hand with a brand, like a piece of the city or something, again, the art museum, something of the city. It shouldn't have to be explained to me. I should kind of just get it, particularly as a resident of said city.
And Jimmy, I think that's very fair, especially the Halloween bit. I think I hate having to explain anything because usually I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into my costumes.
Because you're lame? Sorry, wait a minute. Because you're lame?
Oh.
Halloween. Halloween is like many things in life. You get out of it what you put into it. And so if you are not putting anything into Halloween, you are getting nothing out of it, and you deserve nothing out of it.
Hey, I'm gonna just say it's much easier now because I like doing couples costumes. But I'm saying like when I was
I
at
know
OU,
Sabrina does couples costumes. You agree to what she proposes.
I'm not gonna disagree. But like back at OU, back in college, like I wasn't buying all these different like I was like picking your favorite movie character. I was a basketball player or a referee, all the basic costumes. But like I wouldn't put in a whole lot of effort because I knew if I did and somebody asked me about like a costume that I was wearing, that would only irritate me. Anyway, my number 5 pick for our all-time jersey draft, I got the Jazz Purple Mountains as my number 5 selection. And as I've been looking at these two jerseys, obviously there's the one that is all purple with the purple shorts and it has like white writing on it. But I also really like the white jersey version of this, where they have the white shorts and it has the mountains going down the side in purple font on the shorts as well. I think it's like a tie between those two for me, but ultimately the Utah Jazz Purple Mountains jersey goes hard. I like how the old school version, I believe, had like the lettering of Utah would change colors with the color of the mountain. It just looks like it goes so crazy. And then you got guys like Donovan Mitchell, John Stockton, Karl Malone wearing the jersey, and it just hits a little harder. And I obviously keep going back to these star players wearing the jersey and elevating it to a different standard. But I think that's what makes these jerseys stand out is you can picture a player in them doing something spectacular and being like, oh, if he was wearing like a classic jersey, it might not have stood out the same. Although we have this conversation about Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant doing these amazing things in their classic Lakers and Celtics jerseys, just makes sense. So I can see anybody having their thoughts either way on the subject. Jimmy, how do you think we did?
I would throw an honorable mention to the Chicago Bulls Reds of the 90s. Again, that one to me, I had it on there initially, but I was just like, is MJ just the coolest guy of all time? Like, is that why this is here? Like, they weren't exactly hitting the same when Kirk Heinrich was wearing them, right? But then we had Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose throws on. It's like, wow, maybe these worked. And to that point, I would say that the Utah Jazz 90s jerseys are a great call because I'm gonna say this nicely. John Stockton and Karl Malone. Remember all that stuff we said about Allen Iverson being a fashion icon, a cultural icon? He could have made any jersey work. Let's just say I wouldn't say those things about John Stockton and Karl Malone, and they still wore those Utah jerseys beautifully. That right there, and like the Utah Jazz had some great runs. Obviously, they were matched up with MJ in the finals. I think being on the same stage as him will elevate your franchise from top to bottom. You have more visibility on those jerseys as a result. But I just think that we really put a theory like this theory to the test. Like, what if we just put these jerseys on a guy? Like, how cool would they look? John Stockton's kind of like a great all-time great basketball player, but kind of just a guy, kind of just an average sized dude walking around, and they looked great. That's a good call on your end.
All right. With all that being said, that'll wrap up today's episode of the Wine and Gold Talk podcast. But remember to become a Cavs Insider and interact with Chris, me, and Jimmy by subscribing to Subtext. If you like our list, go ahead and let us know on Subtext. If you don't like our list, if you think we missed something, go ahead and let us know on Subtext, and we'll get right back to you. Maybe we can go back and forth, have a little fun on that. And with the connection at the fingertips of your phone. Sign up for a 14-day free trial or visit cleveland.com/Cavs and click on the blue bar at the top of the page. If you don't like it, that's fine. All you have to do is text the word STOP. It's easy, but we can tell you that the people who sign up stick around because this is the best way to get insider coverage on the Cavs from me, Chris, and Jimmy. This isn't just our podcast, it's your podcast. And the only way to have your voice heard is through Subtext. Y'all be safe. We out.